So February is National Heart Month, and so I wanted to write an article for consumers and for readers to kind of clear up some of the misconceptions about diet and heart disease. And there's a lot of misinformation floating around out there, and there's a lot of really good, solid information. And I kind of wanted to bring to light the difference between the two and what's true and what's not true. And heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans. That's a preventable condition. And it also can affect other chronic lifestyle-related diseases like diabetes. There's a really high correlation between patients who have diabetes who later develop heart disease. So it's really important for all people to understand heart health and what you can do to keep your heart healthy. Yeah, I think it can be really confusing for average consumers because it feels like from one month to the next there's something new coming out. So are eggs good this month or are they bad this month? It's hard to kind of tell. And that's because research is constantly evolving and we're constantly learning new things. Just because we think we understand it doesn't necessarily mean that we stop studying it. And so as we get the results of this research, we're finding out that it's not as black and white as we once thought on a lot of foods. Well, I think one of the big ones that we can turn to is whole foods. And when I mean whole foods, I don't necessarily mean the store, I mean the real food. So things like rice, things like pasta, breads, corn, vegetables, fruits, things that don't come necessarily in a box that are flavored and prepackaged, because what we know about those foods is that they have a lot of sodium in them. They also have a lot of hidden sugars. Even if they don't taste sweet, they could have a lot of hidden sugars, and vice versa. Sometimes the things that we eat, like cookies or soda that are sweet, have a lot of sodium in them. So those are kind of things to steer clear of, because then you know what you're putting in your body. Certainly getting your fruits and vegetables, I would say, is paramount to your health. There is nothing about fruits and vegetables that can be understated. They are nutritional powerhouses because they have a lot of fiber, vitamins, nutrients, but what they also have in them that's really interesting are these new plant compounds that we are exploring, that they aren't necessarily a vitamin or a mineral, but they're called a phytonutrient because they're a plant. And these are things like antioxidants that we're really starting to explore the properties of those. So I'd say that, and then also hydration is really important. I think water is something that we don't pay enough attention to. We should be drinking whatever your weight is in pounds, divide that by 2. That's how many ounces you should drink a day. And water is really important to keeping your body functioning properly, because your body is mostly water, but you're constantly losing it. So replenishing that is really important. So carbohydrates are not bad. I think a lot of people thought that they were bad because if you stop eating them, you will lose weight, but you're not necessarily losing weight healthily. So carbs are really important because they're our main fuel source. That's where we get most of our energy quickly. And healthy carbs are like whole grains, so things like whole wheat, brown rice, quinoa, and you can find a lot of good whole grain alternatives now in your grocery store. And they have a lot of fiber, and the reason that's important is because fiber kind of scrubs your system down, but the reason why they're also heart healthy is because fiber, I like to think of it as like a waiter at a party that takes your trash or your empty glass, takes all the stuff you don't want, like your bad cholesterol. It actually shuttles it out of your system. So it's really important, and that's why you'll see things on whole grains that say that it actually can help lower your cholesterol. And then with fats, there are a lot of healthy fats out there, especially our monounsaturated fats. And an easy way to think of this is that if it is liquid at room temperature, it's an unsaturated fat. If it's solid at room temperature, like a lot of like shortenings or fats that we see in our meats, that's a saturated fat. Unsaturated fats help lower, or they're healthy for us because they help get our proportion of good cholesterol and bad cholesterol into a good proportion. And they also have antioxidant properties, especially our omega-3 fatty acids. And we find those in fatty fish like salmon, hemp, flaxseed, and you'll also see foods on the market that have also been supplemented with omega-3 fatty acids. The new science that's coming out is really interesting about cholesterol and diet, because what we're finding is that where we once thought the dietary cholesterol was a big contributor to our body's cholesterol levels, we're finding that isn't necessarily the case all of the time. For some people, they do need a drug to help them control their cholesterol. And we're learning that things like eggs that were kind of vilified in the past because of their cholesterol content in the egg yolk aren't necessarily as bad as we thought. And people who may have higher cholesterol or borderline cholesterol can still have these foods in their diet because it's not necessarily contributing as much as we thought. So a lot of times we're cautious because we don't completely understand it, so we'll still tell you to watch the cholesterol that you intake and maybe limit it to something like 1 egg a day, for example, or 1 egg yolk a day. But it's not necessarily something that a lot of people can control with diet alone, we're finding. So it's never too late to incorporate healthy habits, is kind of the way that I believe. There are still things that we can do that can help your heart, because your heart and your body, it's amazing, it wants to be healthy. So even if you already have been diagnosed with these diseases, we can still help your body heal itself and recover. So some things that we can start doing are, we can start looking at our sodium intake. That's a big one. And also we can look at what we're eating. Are we getting those whole grains? What kind of fats are we eating? Are we eating a lot of fried food, or are we eating food that might be sauteed in olive oil, kind of more of a Mediterranean diet? Are we getting enough fruits and vegetables? Things like that are really important, because all of these foods have these components that can help our body function properly. And even if you have been diagnosed and your body kind of functions in a disordered pattern, by introducing healthy foods and kind of changing those lifestyle habits and doing things like exercising and getting enough sleep, those are really important. And it helps your body to kind of heal and to function right. I know a lot of people are diagnosed or have a family history or at risk for heart disease, and I really encourage people to give lifestyle changes a chance. It can be hard, it's not easy, it's not a pill that you can take, it's something that you really have to look at and change. And so the work can be hard, and that's why there are a lot of professionals out there in your community, be it a dietitian or be it your doctor, that can help you kind of make these adjustments and get on the right path. And it will extend your life, it will improve your quality of life. And so, never stop considering it. And even though it's hard work, I think it really pays off in the end.